Profit is not accidental, neither is it measured only in monetary terms. Among other things, it is a product of divine instruction and leading that culminates into wisdom, culminate into influence, culminate into preservation, culminate into relevance, peace, generational impact, and sustainable thing. One cardinal truth that many people miss is this: God ties profiting to guidance. Therefore, if you want to make profit, you need to subject yourself to being taught. Welcome to today's edition of Taking the Lead. My name is Chris Obebo, and the topic is Taught to Profit. Taught to Profit, a guide to long-term profit in all situations. The anchor text will be the book of Isaiah chapter 48 verse 17. Isaiah chapter 48 verse 17, thus says the Lord, thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, I am the Lord thy God, which teach you to profit and lead you in the way to go. In that anchor text, Isaiah 48 verse 17, God introduced himself with three titles. The first one being the Redeemer, the second one being the Holy One of Israel, and the third one being the Teacher. My focus for today will be on the last one, the Teacher. About himself, God said in that anchor text, I teach you to profit and lead you in the way to go. What does that mean? That lasting profit, the kind that gives you rest, the kind that gives you peace, is not necessarily about speed. Rather, it is about alignment. And that's why the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 5 to 6, Proverbs 3, verse 5 to 6, the Bible says, trust in the Lord with all your hearts and lean not unto your own understanding. In all thy ways, acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. That means that in the journey to making profit, knowing the path to follow precedes progress, because it is possible to make progress but in a wrong direction. So, knowing the path to follow is first before making progress. God does not just bless randomly. The first thing he does is that he leads, then he establishes, and then as an outcome of that establishment, profit manifests. Knowing that profiting is a product of teaching and leading, the right question to ask will be, how does God lead a person to profit? There are several ways by which God leads to profit. And today I will be focusing on just a number of them, probably five or six. And I need you to pay attention, because these are the things that are important for you to know, so that ultimately your effort would be leading to profit. So, one of the ways, the number one way by which God leads to profit, is what I call clear instruction. Clear instruction. And these instructions come from general principles in scriptures, as well as God's revealed word to an individuals. They come from general principles in scriptures. They come from God's revealed word to an individual. They also come from people that God has placed around you, who by virtue of age, by virtue of experience, have learned some lessons and are in a position to transmit those knowledge to you so that you can make profit from them. For instance, at a point in time in the land of Israel, the land was hit by famine. The natural thing to do in that situation was to migrate to wherever food was. And this was the option that Israel opted for. But God objected. He told him, don't go down to Egypt. Yes, there is food now, but don't go down to Egypt. Stay where you are, and I'm going to bless you. I'm going to bless you. So God objected to him going. Now, it was on the strength of that instruction from God that made Israel to remain in that land. That's instruction was unconventional, but it was on the strength of that instruction that he chose to remain in that land. And then the Bible said, he sowed in the land, he became blessed. See, profit follows principles. And in these days and time, clear instruction is not a luxury, rather is a necessity for survival and thriving. The book of Proverbs chapter 4 verse 13, Proverbs chapter 4 verse 13, the Bible says, take fast hold of instructions. Let her not go. Keep her, for she is thy life. The second way by which God leads to profit is through strategic positioning. Strategic positioning, because sometimes profit is not really in what you know, it is in where you are positioned. And a classic example of this was Joseph. His life became profitable, not necessarily because he could interpret dreams, but rather because he was positioned in Egypt just in time before famine came. Imagine businesses that had pivoted into the digital space before the lockdown occurred in the year 2020. Such businesses had positioned themselves strategically for profit before others woke up. The third way by which God leads to profit is through timing. And I need to emphasize that in learning and teaching to profit, timing is a major asset. You know, the Bible says in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1, that to everything there is a season and a time for every purpose. That everything there also includes profit. That's why it's good as a person to commit yourself to lifelong learning, because as you do, your receptivity becomes sharper and you begin to connect the dots in events. You observe patterns, and as you observe patterns, you are able to establish trends. Think of it. How did Daniel knew that it was time for the liberation of Israel from Babylon? How did he know that that time had come? If you read the book of Daniel, he said, I understood by books. Mordecai, Esther's uncle, said unto her, who know whether you are come into the kingdom for such a time as this? There are people, there are products, there are organizations that could have endured longer if only they understood timing. If they understood, oh, what time should I step in? What time should I hold on before stepping up? What time should this be launched? What time should this not be launched? If they understood timing, they would have stayed longer. God leads to profit by teaching patience, by revealing the right season, and even closing some doors until maturity develops. The fourth way by which God leads to profit is through problem solving assignment. Problem solving assignment. Profits are actually encapsulated inside problems. They are hidden inside problems. One of the ways by which God communicates with men is through opportunities. And these opportunities are what we mortals describe as problems, because they will not just appear readily as opportunities, they will appear as actually problems. For example, God never told David specifically to kill Goliath. There was nowhere he got that specific instruction. David only saw an opportunity to stop the reproach that was coming to God, and by extension coming to his people, the Israeli. Because the Bible said that for 40 days Goliath kept coming and kept defiling the God of Israel and even the Israeli army. So David saw that as an opportunity to end that reproach forthwith, an opportunity to use his gift. You know, the Bible says there is no temptation that has taken you that is strange. The Bible says, but God is faithful, that will that temptation is able to make a way of escape for you. Similarly, there is no challenge, there is no problem that you are going through now that is completely strange. Somebody somewhere somehow had gone through it and they had come out triumphant. So there is no problem that you are facing that has no solution. There is a solution for that problem inside it. All you need to do is to subject yourself to being taught. When you subject yourself to be taught, you will find profit arising from the very midst of that problem. God teaches. It's not only like in that place the Redeemer and the Almighty, the Creator, is also the teacher. When he appeared in a human flesh, he was not just a teacher or a Jewish rabbi. The Bible said he taught as one having authority. He taught as the Rabboni, the great teacher himself, that he truly was. Oh, God teaches. He does so directly by himself. He also does so through individuals and systems that he has released wisdom into, so that humanity will be able to profit from every situation and every circumstance they find themselves. So it gives insight into real needs and empowers people to solve problems. And you have a classic example of this in Daniel. Daniel interpreted mysteries, and by that interpretation, he gained prominence. Problems are not strange, as it were. They are just mysteries that needed to be interpreted, that needed to be unraveled. And so, the greater the problems you solve, the greater the opportunity that comes your way. The greater the problem you solve, the greater the profit you receive. The fifth way by which God leads to profit is through divine connections. I need to tell you that relationships are vehicles, and as such, they are vehicles that could take a person up the ladder or bring the person down. Your profiting is not tied only to what you know, is not tied only to where you are, is not tied only to what you do. Sometimes your profiting is a factor of who you know and who knows you. And I need to say that who you know is not the same thing as who knows you. For example, who you know is a matter of proximity. Who knows you is a matter of endorsement. Many people know important names, but the question is, do important names know them? Someone can say, oh, I know the governor. Then my question is, does the governor know you? So you know the governor's name, you're able to mention the governor's name, but the question is, does the governor know your name? Does he know who you are? Does he know what you do? Does he know where you are? Because one of the way that God leads to profit is by making people that matters to know you. And when this happen, you are mentioned, you are recommended, you are defended, and you are positioned to profit. The sixth way by which God leads to profit is through crisis navigation. At times, you may be led to your greatest profit in the time of your adversity. It was during the persecution of the early church in Acts of the Apostles that they witnessed unprecedented expansion. Because as the persecution rose and they were scampering for safety, they were scattered abroad. The Bible said they that were scattered abroad, they were preaching everywhere. It was during that time that Philip went to Samaria to preach, and the city was turned upside down. I need you to learn to discern opportunity for profit disguised as crisis. And someone who experienced this was Ruth in the Bible. She was navigating a period of crisis when she met Boaz. Remember that her father-in-law had died. Remember that her husband had died. She was going through widowhood. And unfortunately, from that union, she had no child with the husband who had died. And even the mother-in-law told her, please go, I don't have anything to give you. And she was even going through financial crisis because there was a challenge in their homeland that they ran into where they were now located. So she was going through several crises. And then she was even a Moabitess. But then she was taught. The mother-in-law told her how to behave. The mother-in-law taught her how to react to the owner of the field. The mother-in-law taught her how to relate with people who are there, how to be of service. And because she was taught, because she followed the instruction, she profited by being included in the genealogy of Jesus Christ. I don't know the crisis you are in, but I am urging you, don't give up on God because He won't give up on you. Now, every teaching, every teaching, if understood, should lead you into reality, a reality of profit. God teaches and He also leads. When the teaching is embraced and the leading is followed, profit becomes inevitable. Profit will come. That profit will be sustainable and that profit will be impactful. I trust that you have been blessed and I encourage you to subject yourself to being taught. Therein lies your profiting. Thank you very much for your time.